As the world moves into the final stretch toward the 2030 deadline for Sustainable Development Goals, the promise of sustainable development stands at a crossroads. Ambitious frameworks have been adopted, billions mobilized, policies drafted, revised, and refined. Yet, across regions and communities, progress remains uneven. This reality has forced policymakers and development partners to confront a difficult question of why do many development challenges persist despite knowledge, resources, and commitment. One answer is increasingly emerging, and it is not in budgets or policy tests, but in how development itself is communicated. On the 9th of December 2025 in Abuja, Nigeria, a new perspective on sustainable development took shape through film. At the third edition of the SDGs Short Film Challenge and Awards, a powerful insight came into focus: that achieving the SDGs is not only a matter of financing and implementation, but also of how development goals are communicated, understood, and emotionally internalized by societies. While the spot at the 2025 SDGs Short Film Challenge and Awards in Abuja naturally fell on winning films and celebrated filmmakers, one of the most consequential outcomes of the event unfolded away from the red carpet. They emerged from 4 carefully curated dialogue sessions that examined with uncommon clarity. The dialogue sessions gave the event its intellectual depth. The answers, offered through rigorous debate and lived experience, revealed why film must now be recognized as a strategic instrument for sustainable development and as one of the few tools capable of cutting across literacy barriers, languages, cultures, and ideologies. Moderated by leading film and media practitioners, the sessions explored how storytelling intersects with policy, behavior change, youth mobilization, and global advocacy. Held under the theme Film as a Catalyst of Sustainable Development, Reimagining the Future We Want Through the Screen, the event brought together development institutions, government actors, filmmakers, and civil society. Beyond the awards, the program featured 4 structured dialogue sessions that position film not as a supplementary advocacy tool but as a form of development infrastructure, which is essential for behavior change, policy uptake, and citizen mobilization. Across development sectors, evidence increasingly shows that information alone does not change behavior. Communities may be aware of climate risk, gender inequality, or harmful social practices, yet continue to reproduce them due to cultural norms, emotional distance, or lack of personal connection to policy objectives. The dialogue sessions at the SDGs Film Challenge directly addressed this challenge. Participants argued that while policy documents speak the language of institutions, film speaks the language of the people. By translating global goals into relatable human stories, film closes the gap between policy intent and public understanding, an essential condition for SDG acceleration. The opening session centered on youth as both creators and catalysts with the decade of action for the SDGs. Panelists argued that young people are not merely beneficiaries of development policy, but essential drivers of behavioral and attitudinal change, particularly through film and digital storytelling. Discussions highlighted how youth-led narratives, delivered through short films, mobile phones, and social media platforms, are uniquely positioned to reach audiences that traditional development communication often fails to engage.
We've come a long way from the days of black and white till now. We've even evolved from just the normal everyday TV shows to YouTube, Netflix. YouTube is like one of the biggest wealth creation tool for Nigerian youths today. YouTube, TikTok, Netflix, for producers and all that. So yes, we are actually doing very, very well. We are trying. We have a long way to go, but we have come a mighty long way. And everybody who is out there telling their stories, they deserve a round of applause, especially for the organizers of this event. They're actually doing well. This is us pushing ourselves. This wouldn't have happened some few years ago, but see us here today. So we're making good strides. So yes, we're doing well.
If we don't tell the right stories to the younger generation, you will keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again. And this is directed at Nollywood as well. Sometimes, people are very angry watching Nollywood movies, epic, African magic, because they'll be like, what are you even learning? Is it how to take somebody's husband? Or how to do something to your house help? But these are the sad stories that we need to change. These are the narratives that we need to rewrite. We need to start telling stories of resilience. We need to start telling stories of progress. I know that they are doing it for entertainment, but at the same time, you need to imbibe culture and education in the entertainment.
Story shapes culture, and culture shapes behavior, right? So the movies that we have right now is a two-way thing. It could influence both positively and negatively. So I'll give myself as an example. I work around SDG3, gender and SDG3, good health and well-being, and my focal area is menstrual health and hygiene. And now we want to tell a story. We want to pass a good narrative. We want to break cultures and barriers. I started making stories around menstrual health and hygiene, crimes, gender-based violence, and how it affects women, youth, and society. So those kind of stories will pass a good narrative. And when kids are watching it, teenagers are watching it, the men are being involved in the narrative, it drives a positive story home, which begin to shape the culture of people at home. So that also implies to negative stories. But I think as of recent, the narratives are changing, because I've also been seeing movies that have been aired telling positive stories, not just also about the culture, also about Nigeria and our future. So there are lots of positive stories and plays going on.
Nollywood in entertainment industry is one of the best. So we have a lot of creative and innovative potentials in the Nollywood industry. And to a reasonable extent, as a Nigerian, they are doing very well to tell the story, both the positive and the negative. Yeah. And also on the aspect of the SDGs, they are doing, to a reasonable extent, they are doing the needful to tell the story. Because without them telling the story, I don't think this event will take place. Because we are here to reward, appreciate the actors and the actresses for the great work they are doing to promote the SDGs and all that.
The stories we tell are authentic stories. Now, when we go to the field, we see the crises and problems in the field, and we document these raw and authentically, without filter, because these are the lived experiences and challenges people face in their communities. So now, for creatives in the development space, I would say that we are doing a great job as young people, pushing these stories, getting the word out there, putting these impactful things out there. Now, talking about we being in the global stage, now I think at this juncture, lots of creatives in the non-profit sector are doing great job. Documentary filmmakers are pushing out great narratives, but I think that most times issue comes with funding for those projects. Now, you have great films, you have a great story, you want to do the work, but you pitch your story out there, but sometimes there is this selectiveness in stories that are getting funded. Now, maybe donors at that point, their priorities may differ from the thematic area of your story. So now you're thrown by the side and that project is not funded. And then maybe somebody else gets the funding because of the thematic area that aligns with the global funds at that moment.
When it comes to the film and creativity, is that there's a lot of passion for projects, there's a lot of creativity. However, often there's a lack of understanding for business development. So, for example, if you're trying to pitch, your project to an international partner, a lot of times people haven't even prepared the right materials for someone to take you seriously enough. Or maybe you haven't been able to convey the vision in such a concise way that someone, because if you're pitching to an investor, for example, right, they're probably seeing so many other opportunities in that same week or day that you pitch to them. But I feel like we need to have more like capacity building workshops for filmmakers that actually teaches them and educates them on business development, because they can have such an amazing, impactful film that could actually solve a great problem and spreads the right awareness, but like just that lack of understanding how to prepare the right materials or even tailor materials according to who you're pitching to or the stakeholders that are relevant to it.
The second session shifted the conversation from creativity to systems, focusing on enabling environment required for film to deliver sustained SDGs impact. Panelists underscored the need for coordinated national and subnational strategies that align film development with broader economic and social policy objectives. Fragmented approaches to creative sector funding, they argued, limit both cultural output and development returns.
If you are able to bring in a film, you condescend it to a film and put it out there, the youth will be willing to relate with it because it will last more in their memory. And if you are dealing with a generation, you have to look at their passion. Film is what is, is what is going now. If you're able to, bring in that passion and take it to the scene, to the financial scene, you are going to get a lot of money. Again, if you have a country where the banks are richer than the manufacturing sector, you really have to key into it. So the issue is not about money for you. The issue is about momentum. Momentum that's going to be defined in passion. Momentum is going to be defined in livelihood. Momentum is going to be defined in life. Momentum of telling the stories.
I sat on the same table over there with a lady from World Food Program. So supposing I want to tell a story around World Food Program, something around food, hunger, goal 1 and 2, hunger and poverty, for instance. I should look at first, even if it's their website, open their website and read what are their focus areas. What are the ideals that these organizations seek to promote? Then have other options, not just one. Not just a one-way traffic thing, World Food Program. So if World Food Program at the end of the day says no to my proposal, then the proposal dies. What other alternatives do I have? If it's climate, what organizations are working in that space that I have itemized that I want to reach out to? And for each of them, what are their focus areas? Because even within the climate sector, there are thematic areas that some of them, do this, some of them do advocacy, some do not do advocacy, for instance. So I believe that purpose and alignment is the first thing. The filmmaker should first look at what organization I'm approaching for funding, because impact stories are not stories that you primarily want to put in the cinemas and expect box office returns.
Hollywood actually started from commercial filmmaking. Now, we have broadly those who are into commercial filmmaking and those who are into social impact filmmaking. And social impact filmmaking is films that are meant to change society positively, especially what the SDGs is preaching. But when we started with Nollywood, it was more about a wicked mother-in-law, a wicked father-in-law, somebody who is collecting somebody's wife somewhere. But right now, the dynamics are really, really changing. Now, if anybody in this room decides or wants to make a movie, the first thing you should ask yourself, where you are going to request for that money, what value are you giving to them? Once you pick to the value of the individual who you're going to request for money from, they will definitely give it to you. These funders are actually looking for where they can put their monies on. They are looking for filmmakers who can give them value. But incidentally, we just want to feel it's easier to make a film that will go to cinema or that will Netflix will pick up immediately. And social impact films are actually not really entertaining. They are more about education. A film is meant to do three basic things: to inform, to educate, and to entertain. So if you're able to meet either of those, you are actually going to get the funds you require.
Filmmaking is an advantage, an edge in bridging that gap, in bringing in the financial, the financial opportunities. Because when we watch a film and you tend to be happy about it, and when they are happy about it, they tend to be like amazed, what are this? However, for filmmaking to be very efficient in using agriculture as a tool, in bringing in more money for SDG or filmmaking, we need to focus on looking on more scalable solution, projecting more of the solutions rather than the problems in agriculture. We so much showcase out there the problems in the communities, the farmers, that they look poor and all. Why not having a picture of a farmer, a woman farmer, that is doing a very good modernized way of farming? And that's what we do also at CHE Agritech Africa. We try to showcase scalable solutions that will transform narratives through storytelling, which is a sort of a filmmaking.
The third panel addressed one of the most pressing constraints facing SDGs focused filmmaking: financing. Participants examined pathways for mobilizing domestic and international development finance to support films that advance social impact objectives. Particular attention was given to the growing alignment between SDG storytelling and corporate environmental, social, and governance (ESG) and corporate social responsibility (CSR) frameworks. Panelists argued that SDGs films offer corporations and development partners measurable value, combining visibility, advocacy, and social impact, making them attractive vehicles for blended finance and impact investment. Discussions also explored how local productions can be scaled into global streaming and distribution ecosystems, amplifying reach and sustainability. Importantly, the session introduced the idea of new financing instrument tailored to youth-led and community-based storytelling, including grants, revolving funds, and public-private co-financing models. The message was unambiguous. Without international financing frameworks, the transformative potential of film for the SDGs will remain underutilized.
The creative industry now is fragmented. Most filmmakers come up with a concept that suits their own conscience, not the one that we actually project the government. On our part in Lagos, we are always deliberate in development. We have the Ministry of Entertainment and Tourism, and that ministry always accepts ideas that can transform the society.
I will tell you that currently storytelling have moved from just being stories to becoming strategic advocacy, creating an ecosystem where both the young, the old, the learned and unlearned can engage actively beyond those layers. And one of the most profound moments for me is at the time where Nigeria is looking at equitable storytelling for young women, especially looking at having women's voices in governance and in politics. And I think the critical one would be, for me, the Reserve Seats for Women's bill. Now, I remember when we started this conversation, looking at women in politics, having the women's movement, nobody really thought about it in form of, a policy direction. They thought about it as a women's right movement.
Yeah.
Now, going from the 8th Assembly to the 9th Assembly, here we are in the 10th. We have been able to see the power of uniformed advocacy through storytelling, not through the eyes of the media alone, but through the eyes of institutions, through the eyes of entertainment, and through the eyes of the narratives that we see on print.
In the area of allowing more people to have access to your stories, fundamentally, we all know that stories shape culture. It is the way that like you say, we've been able to, as Africans, preserve our culture up to this moment. But also, we need the same stories to be able to get to more people. So how do we ensure that more people, let's say the younger person who is not able to have access to something like YouTube or Netflix, readily available, what are the other ways that they can be able to access these stories? What are the other ways that they can be able to join in the conversation and be part of it in an actively engaging way that is not just passive, So one of the things that we're doing with our platform, which is Sessions, is, and I think it's important to say this, it is a video sharing platform similar to YouTube, but Sessions allows both creators and fans to earn together.
Storytelling has a way of covering more grounds. Visually, it's easier for people to understand visually than when it's, in form of write-up. So, and coming from the perspective, the organization which I cover, which has to do with waste management, which is an important aspect of the SDG. There are lots of disconnect with understanding what waste management, proper waste management is. What our organization is doing at the moment is we're having sensitization, community sensitization, going from house to house, to talk about what it is. Also, we ought to have entered for this competition, but unfortunately we got information late because we have a very good story that we have told, So people need to begin to understand that when they see waste, they need to have that mentality that waste can actually be turned into value. And it starts with proper waste management. The whole idea or the whole concept about climate change begins from the community. People need to know that you need to recycle some of this waste. Not all of them totally should be disposed. So it's an aspect that I believe the government, like you asked, how can governance interfere? How can they come in? It's an area that government, the organization overseeing waste in Nigeria has to come in and begin to educate communities, businesses, that you can actually also make money from this waste.
The final session broadened the lens beyond film to the wider creative act ecosystem, situating storytelling within the context of national transformation. Panelists examined how film, performance, music, animation, and theater collectively shape public consciousness on governance, gender equality, climate action, and social change. They argued that sustainable development requires not only policy reform, but cultural reorientation, and that the creative acts are among the most effective tools for achieving this shift. Discussions also focused on the role of cultural economy in job creation and national development, as well as the importance of preserving indigenous narratives to promote social cohesion and inclusive identity formation. Across all 4 panel sessions, several consistent themes emerged. Film and creative acts are behavior change tools, not just awareness tools. Youth-led storytelling enhances legitimacy, reach, and sustainability. Enabling policies and infrastructure are essential for long-term impact. Strategic financing unlocks scale and global relevance. Cultural narratives shape development outcomes as much as economic inputs. Together, these insights reframed storytelling as a strategic pillar of SDGs implementation. The 4 panel sessions at the 2025 SDG Short Film Challenge and Awards delivered a unified message to policymakers, donors, and development partners. The future of sustainable development depends not only on what policies are adopted, but on how societies are engaged, inspired, and mobilized. Film and the creative act provide a language capable of translating complex goals into human experience, aligning public consciousness with policy ambition, and accelerating collective action. As the world approaches 2030, the Abuja Conversations suggest that development strategies which integrate storytelling will move faster, reach further, and endure longer than those that do not. In the decade of action, stories are not optional, they are infrastructure.